I'm going to go ahead and get started with the script reading and everything, so we can, as people keep joining. So bear with me here. To conduct this meeting wholly electronically and to effectuate both the emergency procedures authorized by FOIA and the emergency ordinance, the Fairfax County Athletic Council needs to make certain findings and determinations for the record. It's a bit cumbersome, so I ask you in advance for your patience. First, because each member of the Fairfax County Athletic Council is participating in this meeting from a separate location, we must verify that a quorum of members is participating and that each member's voice is clear, audible, and at an appropriate volume for all of the other members. Accordingly, I'm going to conduct a roll call and ask each member participating in this meeting to state your name and the location from which you are participating. I ask that each of you pay close attention to ensure that you can hear each of your colleagues. Following this roll call, we will vote to establish that every member can hear every other member. Jason, could you conduct the roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Braddock District, Marcia Pape Daniels. Braddock alternate, Marco Mira.
Yep, I'm here.
Drainsville, Greg Beckwith. Drainsville alternate, Brian Lewis. Hunter Mill, Harold Leff.
I'm here from the great district of Hunter Mill.
Thank you. Lee District, Lisa Mickey. Lee District alternate, Bill Bright.
I see Lisa is here.
Yeah, I just hopped on. This is Lisa Mickey from my home in Lee District.
Thank you, Lisa. Mason District, Barbara Lowry.
I'm here from my home in Mason District.
Thank you. Mount Vernon, Lester Munson. He emailed me he wasn't going to be here. Is alternate John Corley here? All right. Providence, Steve McLaughlin.
I'm here from my home, the National Park in the Providence district.
And alternate Kelly Agawaswala. Springfield, Mike Thompson.
I'm here from my home in the Springfield district.
And alternate Mark Hilburn. Sully District, Gary Flather.
Gary here from my home in Centerville in Sully District.
Thank you. And Sully District alternate Mark Abbott.
And I'm here as well, Chantilly, Virginia.
Diversity at large, Mark Fernandez. And alternate Eric Sohn. Member at large, Catherine Quinn. Member at large, alternate Anne-Marie Swope.
Anne-Marie's here from her house in Ruston.
Thank you. Town of Clifton, Jeff Stein.
I'm here from historic Clifton, Virginia.
Thanks, Jeff. Town of Herndon, Roland Taylor.
Roland Taylor here from the town of Herndon at home.
Town of Vienna, Sam Altoff. Baseball Council, Rob Pani.
Here from Centerville, Virginia.
Basketball Council, Steve Bergstrom.
Here from Fairfax, Virginia.
Thanks, Steve. Basketball alternate, Stu Clark. Fast pitch softball, Susie Williamson.
Here from Springfield, Virginia.
And fast pitch alternate, Ryan Buchanan. Football Council, Mark Miena. And Football Council alternate, Ted Hollingsworth. Lacrosse Council, Marianne Wagner.
Marianne's here from her home office in Great Falls.
And alternate Dave Paddock. Slow pitch softball, Carl Cohen. Or alternate Christine Iddip. Soccer Council, Lula Bauer.
Lula Bauer here from Alexandria.
And soccer alternate Trish Moxie.
She's here, but she's on mute.
Okay.
I'm here from Springfield.
Thanks, Trish. Volleyball Council, Chuck Pruitt.
Here from McLean, Virginia.
And volleyball alternate Rob Bailey.
Here from Annandale.
And women's sports programs Jenny Cantwell said she wouldn't be able to make it. And alternate Hillary Richardson.
Hillary is here from her home office in Reston, Virginia.
Thanks, Hillary. And Park Authority Kurt Lewis.
Here from my home in Fairfax.
School board Melanie Marin. Bill Curran.
This is Bill from Centerville, Virginia.
Thanks, Bill. And Vicki Garner. And then NCS Sarah Allen.
Here.
Keisha Dodson.
Here.
Carrie Navisato.
I'm here from Leesburg, Virginia.
Mark Martino.
I'm here from Centerville.
I wasn't sure if is Lloyd Tucker here as well.
Yeah, I want to, Steve, can I take a minute to make a big introduction right now?
Sure.
Are we
go
done?
ahead.
Are we done?
Yeah, that was the last one.
Okay. So I am proud to announce your new executive director and our director, Lloyd Tucker. He is, I don't know if he's on the line, but if he's not, he will be. And I'm also very excited to tell you that he is a sports guy. So you are in good hands. We are in good hands. We are so excited and thrilled that he was selected. All the employees of NCS, and you guys you're gonna love him. You're in good hands. So Lloyd, are you on?
I am on, Aaron.
My man, Lloyd. All right.
Yeah, but unfortunately, he's a Giants fan, so he got a couple of strikes against him.
But I appreciate you guys letting me pop on and say hello. Athletic Council, it's a pleasure to see you all and to hear you all being introduced, and I look forward to working with you all and with Karen and Mark and Jason and Keisha and Sarah and everybody else that helped to support you all. Looking forward to a lot of good work together. So thank you so much, Karen. I appreciate it.
All right.
All right, and welcome, Lloyd. At this point, I'm going to pass the virtual gavel. Where's that going? To Jason, so that I may be heard to make the requisite motion. I move that each member's voice may be adequately heard by each other member of the Fairfax County Athletic Council.
I second your motion.
Aye.
So, Jason, just ask, is there any objection?
Oh,
Hearing
sorry.
none.
Sorry, I missed my part. Is there any objections?
Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on. Second, having established that each member's voice may be heard by every other member, we must next establish the nature of the emergency that compels these emergency procedures. I wonder what that could be. The fact that we are meeting electronically, what type of electronic, what type of electronic communication is being used, and how we have arranged for public access to this meeting. Therefore, I move that the state of emergency caused by COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for the Fairfax County Athletic Council to physically assemble and unsafe for the public to physically attend any such meeting, and that as such, FOIA's usual procedures, which require the physical assembly of the Fairfax County Athletic Council and the physical presence of the public, cannot be implemented safely or practically. I further move that Fairfax County Athletic Council may conduct this meeting electronically via Microsoft Teams, and the public may access this meeting by calling 1-571-429-5982 with the conference ID number 688-327-461 #. It is so moved.
And I second it.
Are there any objections?
Hearing none, the motion carries. Finally, it is next required that all the matters addressed on today's agenda must address the emergency itself, are necessary for continuity in Fairfax County government, and or are statutorily required or necessary to continue operations and the discharge of the Fairfax County Athletic Council lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities. It is so moved.
And I second it.
Any objections?
Hearing none, that motion carries, and we are into the main body of the meeting. And I'm looking at, we've done the roll call. Are there any citizens who wish to address council? Do we have anybody who wants to make a presentation to council? Hearing none, I'm going on to presentations to council. NCS is going to update us on the sports scholarship program. Who wants to take that?
Yeah, we have Chris Pulley's on the line, so he's got a presentation for you. And is it Jason? Are you going to put it up on the board for everybody?
Yep. Give me 1 sec.
Okay.
Can you guys see it?
Mm-hmm.
It's coming. There it is. Looks like a hoop.
Hello, everybody. How we doing? My name is Chris Pulley, and I am the Community Outreach Specialist for Athletics in Fairfax County. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting all of you. I've been out for the last 8 months and dealing with some things, but I'm back now. And my job primarily is to remove barriers to play for our athletic participants here in the county, and also connect those individuals with resources to help them keep playing. With that, one of my duties under my umbrella here is a scholarship program. So I'm going to give you take you through our program briefly, not too long. I got questions and answers at the end. Karen has some comments she's going to make at the end, and we'll go from there. So the first slide you see up is just the introduction, the overview, how we disperse the funds, just some 5-year trends of what we've seen, a funding comparison, and of course, as I mentioned, the thank you and questions. Okay, next slide, Jason, please. So our overview, there is currently a $150,000 budget for our scholarship program. We disperse those funds over 3 seasons, which is the winter, spring, and summer, fall seasons. As you see, the amount available for each season just depends on the number of total seasonal applicants from the previous identical season. And I'll show you an example of that on the next slide or two. And there's 2 forms of assistance, really. The registration fee waiver, which is the common one, and an equipment voucher. We really only do 1 equipment voucher right now, which is a partnership that Burke Athletic Club has with Burke Sporting Goods, and that just assists them in getting some soccer gear and so on. The primary premises, we give $150 per athlete, but no more than $300 for the annual year. So if those individuals can compete in the winter and summer, fall, that'd be the $300 and so on. So you guys get the idea of that. Next slide, please. Okay, continuing the overview. Oh, there you go, right there, Jason. To be eligible, you must be receiving some kind of assistance. The examples I gave here was free and reduced lunch or Medicaid. You can also be a foster child. You can also have a social worker, those kind of things, to verify that you are actually in need. You must meet some criteria. Obviously, must be a Fairfax County resident, enrolled in school K through 12, and commit to attending a minimum of 80%. We would hope that you would do that anyway, whether you were a scholarship recipient or not. But that's one of the criteria, and not currently being served by an existing program, and so on. Similar to how we schedule in terms of fields and so on, not currently having private fields and so on. Did it disappear there?
Sorry, let me pull it back up. It was acting up earlier.
All good, all good.
You need me to try, Jason, or?
It's working now, so.
Okay.
Maybe for you it's working.
Okay.
I forgot I got shared again. Hold up.
All right, I see something here. Okay.
All right. Sorry about that.
All right, and right there we were.
Yep.
Okay, good deal. So we talked about the criteria. All right, so to apply, the applicants must complete the scholarship application, which is available on our website. Many of the clubs have them in-house as well. They download them and have them ready to go, English and in Spanish. Those individuals submit it back to the club. The club will in turn verify the applicant, and all the supporting documentation, as I mentioned, free and reduced, and so on. From there, the club submits what I call a scholarship league verification form, along with the individuals on an Excel document up to me. Years ago, before we went electronic, before I consolidated this, we those of you who remember had to do this snail mail, had to collect all the data and information and mail it up, and that was a cumbersome process and so on, and it took a while for funds to be dispersed. But now we've expedited that, and with the help of some of the individuals such as Jody Remetta, who helped vet this form to make sure it was user friendly and so on. And a couple of other individuals were involved in that process as well. We were able to create that scholarship league verification form. As you see here, there are 3 deadlines: winter, spring, and summer, fall, to get those that information up to me, so that way we can ensure that the clubs get the money back. Next slide, please. Okay, so how do we calculate the amount for each applicant per season? Try to make this as concise as possible. And again, offline or anything else, I'm happy to answer any more questions. But just in a nutshell here, we assign a percentage or portion of the annual $150,000 budget, and we base it upon the participants from the previous year, the fall, winter, and spring and summer. So the example I gave here, if 9.14% of the applicants were in the winter season the last year, then that will be 9.1% of the funding will be available of that $150,000 budget will be available for this year, which comes out to $13,710. Okay. So step 2, we in turn take that dollar figure and we divide it by the number of current players that I have submitted who need assistance for that current year. So the example that I have down here was the $13,710. We divide that by 499 players for the winter season. That comes out to $27.47 per player, which is not much at all, as you see. Drop in the bucket, and I'm not sure it's that, but we'll reflect that here on the slide. The next 2 slides here will give you a clear picture of that. Okay, so that's how we calculate. Next slide, Jason. Okay, so wanted to show you here the 5-year total of applicants 2015 to 2020. The number at the top there, that you see at the top of the bar graph, that's the amount of applicants that were for the entire fiscal year that year, in say 2015, 5,773 applicants. Now, with the understanding that some of those applicants participated in dual seasons, but we assisted 5,773 applicants. That came out to a total of $25.98 over the entire fiscal year. So that's the reimbursement we were able to give each athlete.
Oh.
Oh.
Yep, sorry.
One more time. No, all good.
Yeah, my computer. I have a loaner.
You're in good shape, man. All right, round 3. Here we go. Okay, as you can see down at the bottom there, draw your attention to the 32,000. That's the total number of applicants over the last 5 years that we've been able to serve. As you notice, there are some ebbs and flows that are in the bar graphs there. Some of that, well, not some of that, that is mostly contributed to a couple of factors. Sometimes there have been years where groups simply haven't submitted their athletes for reimbursement. Sometimes I've heard there have been smaller groups who elected not to submit for scholarship because they simply felt that, for all the paperwork and so on and so forth, it was just easier to eat the costs and keep moving. Sometimes there's turnover in the volunteer base of the athletic organization, and they just kind of missed the deadline, missed the boat, or they just weren't aware, being made aware of the turnover during the turnover process, that we have a scholarship process here. So sometimes, as I mentioned, they submit it. Sometimes they don't. You see, there's a crest in 2018, and again, that's attributed to we just got a lot of requests that year. for folks who need assistance. Drawing your attention to 2020, very, very simply, that the spring season was canceled. So we were able to serve 3,203 applicants. Obviously, since there's less applicants, there was more money per applicant that we were able to give. As you can see here with the dollar figure, it's not much money at all that we're able to give each applicant, and we average it out over the year. And so, and that's something that we want to address, and Karen is going to speak to that at the end. Jason, next slide. So lastly, we did a funding comparison from 2015 to 2020. As you can see with the pie graph on the left there, total user group funds spent versus the fiscal funds available. You can see over 5 years, we had 750,000 available, but the groups requested reimbursement for over 3.5 million. And we were only able to give them, again, the 750K, which averages out to 19, well, really 20% when you round it up, but 19% that we reimbursed, and the groups 81% of that total cost to keep kids playing. And that's just difficult to swallow when you look at it like that, the kids who are in need. Now, that's for a variety of reasons too. Costs have gone up to cost of doing business for these athletic clubs has gone up, travel, you name it. Some groups, some kids are just flat in need and just don't have it. We're in a tough period right now, as you guys know. So that averaged out to $32.76 over our 5-year period. Again, not much money at all that we're able to help with these kids and so on. And lastly, Jason, next slide. So we're here, we had questions and next steps here. I know Karen has some comments, but before that, does anybody have anything that jumps out at them? Any questions I can answer in the short term? Okay. Very good. I appreciate you.
Sorry, it looks like Gary, you have your hand raised?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if just real quick, first and foremost, Chris, we are very excited to have you back. Glad to see you and glad to hear you. Welcome back.
Thanks so much.
Long road for you, so welcome back. Truly missed you for the last 8 months.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And then the question would be, one is have you been able to catch up with the funds from last summer, fall, and this winter? Have you been able to catch those up yet?
Yes. The funds that we didn't use last spring, we will do our county folks were ordered to put those funds in this reimbursement for the spring season. So we were looking to do some other things with it, but we had to spend it initially what it is. So Karen can, again, she can speak to that more specifically, but I had to roll that into the pot this year.
Yeah, we carried that over from last year, Gary, to this year. So the allocations for this year will be a little bit more. And we hope to get those out for summer, fall, and winter shortly, and within the next couple weeks.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Excellent. And then the other obvious question from my bringing this up a couple meetings ago is the process to try to expand that $150,000. I know Sarah had mentioned that that's part of the budget process, but I think we should not miss the opportunity to try to expand that, especially during the COVID situation we're in and having more and more families that are in desperate need.
Agree, Sarah or Karen?
Well, I mean, Sarah would have to help me speak to the budget process, how we do that, but we definitely have the data that you guys would need to support, that type of request, I believe.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. That's what I was going to say is I would defer to you all about what your recommendation would be or your interest in putting a recommendation forward, and then we can work together offline about what that would look like. And I see Steve has his hand up, so he probably has some insight as well.
I'm going to let Mike go first because he had his hand up first. I'm guessing we're heading to the same place, but go ahead, Mike.
The county is receiving money from the federal government for different support from the pandemic relief stuff. Is any of that? I know the Board of Supervisors would have to make decisions. Does what we're talking about qualify potentially to get access to those funds?
Great question. So I did see in a presentation yesterday that there's some ideas about organizational sustainability and money being able to be applied on an organizational level, right? So just wanted to say that there was part of a presentation about the economic recovery plan, and we can send that out to you all. So athletic organizations were listed there, but I don't believe they developed the plan, but that is related to other funding that we may be getting. So I'll send that out. In terms of like CARES dollars or other dollars for scholarships, I haven't seen a direct link yet, Mike, but what we might want to do is have you all come up with what your recommendation is or what you'd like to ask for. And then we can do some work behind the scenes about whether it's an ask through the regular budget process or if it could be other funding that is available. I don't know of anything right off the top of my head that would apply for scholarships, but I haven't actually looked with the lens of athletic scholarships. Okay, so I think maybe your ask first, and then we can figure out what funding source second.
Okay, thank you.
Does that work?
Yeah, sure. So my question was, am I to, excuse my ignorance of what's being proposed in the budget so far, is there $150,000 being proposed in the budget? Has that been released?
So our budget remains flat in this area. So we have said, yes, that $150,000 is needed for this program, but no expansion at this point in our budget request or budget details.
So if we wanted to seek an expansion of the request, that would be a letter to the Board of Supervisors as part of the budget process, would it not?
Yes.
Okay. I'm happy to prepare such a letter. What's the number? I'll look for other hands on that. Go ahead, Gary.
As much as you can get. I'm quite honestly just, I think it's a two-step approach. I think one is asking for additional funds in the budget, but also to see if there's any possibility of grabbing some of the CARE funds or other funds that may be out there currently. That would be my recommendation.
Okay, CARE funds, who would that be directed to? I'm sorry, I see some hands up. So if we were asking for more CARE funds, would that be asking NCS to look into it? Or?
Yes, I believe so. Steve, I would plan on writing a letter as you're going to, and then in that letter, you could, I think you're asking, and well, that would be for the budget. I'm sorry, that's for the budget process. I would also ask me to, and Lloyd, to research what's available through the CARES or other federal funding that's coming down to see if scholarships could be part of that.
Okay, good. Roland, you had your hand up. Mike's next. Go ahead, Roland.
Yes, sir. I would, if we need to do it in the form of a motion, I'd make a motion that we address the CARES Act for special needs for our disadvantaged citizens in the community, and that we approach that. And then I can let somebody else address the second one if we're going to do it in two different matters. But I'd like to bring it for a vote for us to take that action on CARES funds, if that's appropriate.
That's appropriate. Is there a second for that?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, rather than a roll call, is there any objection to the motion as seconded? Hearing no objection, we'll prepare that letter. Mike, you want to take? You got your...
I was going to suggest, at least to get the ball rolling, I would move that the Athletic Council request the Board of Supervisors increase funding for scholarship program from $150,000 to $300,000 in this next fiscal year.
That's a second from Gary. Is there any discussion of the motion?
That's exactly the amount I would propose.
Well, there's 3 votes. Is there any objection to the motion as seconded? Hearing none, that'll be the second letter. Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Gary. Barbara, does that take care of your hand raised?
Yes.
Okay.
Steve?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, just one request. Chris, first of all, I'd echo what Gary said. We are so glad that you are back, and we are so glad that you were able to be back. That's a wonderful thing. It's been a long time since we've heard you, and hopefully we'll be able to see you live and in person real soon.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, Mike.
Absolutely. Can we circulate the presentation that was made so that we have talking points? And I would strongly encourage folks that have connections to the Board of Supervisors to use those talking points to reach out to the members of the Board of Supervisors to discuss this, so that they're not hearing it for the first time when hopefully, I guess, Steve sends the letter and maybe even testifies.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Sarah, Karen, is there a formal process to circulating that?
Jason can
No,
do.
we can send it. We can just send it, Chris.
Okay,
Jason
got it.
can send it to everybody.
Absolutely, not a problem.
Let me also just say, following up on Mike's comment, when we have a letter, we'll certainly everyone will have a copy of it, and I would encourage all of the magisterial reps to contact their supervisor and let them know that it's coming. I'll sign up. Help me out when the sign-ups start. Hopefully it wasn't yesterday. But we'll take care of that offline. I'll sign up to testify, and we'll get a letter in.
Steve, I would
I'm sorry,
also.
this is Ann. Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Barbara.
I didn't have anything. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to also move that the Athletic Council authorize Steve McLaughlin to draft the letter, seek whatever feedback he needs, but authorize him to draft and send that letter, since that letter, I believe, needs to be sent before we next meet.
I second that, Gary.
Okay, any discussion on that? Any objection to that? Hearing none, the motion passes. We'll get that letter going and we'll get it in. I'll sign up for testimony, and looking forward to everybody else doing what they can to move it forward.
And real quick, Karen, you had some comments about the committee?
So the only last thing that I want to say was that, you know, we do technically have a sports scholarship committee. I think Jenny is the chair of that, and I would like to get that started again. Not for this, what you're talking about, the budget numbers, but to just look at the program. Look at the equity of the program. Is the process equitable? Are we reaching every kid in every jurisdiction that actually has a need? Those kinds of things I could use your help with. This program hasn't been looked at for about 10 years. And so I could use a group of you to help me and my staff just kind of wrap your head around that and see if we need to revamp it or redo it. I mean, Sarah and Keisha might have other things to say about that, but I'd like to relaunch the scholarship committee, if that's okay.
Yeah, that'd be fine. I encourage people to go into the chat line and sign up. I'd be happy to participate in that myself, Karen. So,
okay, thank you.
And Jason can see who else jumps in there. That worked last time with the best practices group. But I'm now going to move on in the agenda. Or anything else on the
there's a hand up.
Scholarship? I'm sorry, there is a hand up. Who is it?
Mark Miena.
Oh, hey, Mark.
Hey, No, I was just going to say that's very timely on the scholarship. I'll participate in that. Let everybody know. So good thing, long overdue.
Karen, I don't know how to do chat, but I will participate. This is Barbara.
Okay, thank you.
Chat is the little circle with the lines in it next to the two people at the top of the bar. Before you get to the hand raising, you click on that one and there should be a chat. You can type it in. But enough of the tutorial. Back to the agenda. We have the minutes from the February meeting have been distributed. Are there any additions, deletions, or proposed changes to the minutes?
This is Mike Thompson. I move the adoption of the minutes.
Second.
Gary Flather, second.
Yeah. Is there any objection to the approval of the minutes? I heard an echo, but not an objection. So the minutes are approved. I think that's from somebody has two things on. Hopefully it's not me. Back to the agenda, excuse me. It's the chairman's time for discussion. I'm going to defer. I was involved in some discussions with regard to contact tracing, and I think NCS is going to get into that a little bit later. Is that right, Karen and Sarah? So I'll pass on that. We had an issue in my district, also Hunter Mill, with Vienna Youth, and I think hopefully it's working its way out.
Yep, we'll talk about that under NCS, Steve.
Okay, thank you. Committee reports. Are there any? Well, the one thing I would like to report out is we do have a committee on best practices. It's got a bunch of people. Jason, do you want to tell us who's on that group? Just kind of FYI for everybody.
Yeah, let me pull it up. Hold on.
I can do it. I got it right. Jason.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
From NCS will be myself and my colleague Dan Greil and Jason Shelton. Also, Marcia Pape Daniels from the Braddock District. She expressed an interest in chairing the committee. Gary Flather, Bill Bright from Lee District, Catherine Quinn, Roland Taylor, Bill Curran from FCPS, Mike Thompson, Rob Honey, and Mark Abbott. So those are the ones that we have together for the Best Practices Committee.
Thanks everybody for signing up for that. I think that's going to be a good project for us to be very helpful for the athletic groups. Are there any other committees that have anything to report out? Not seeing any, we'll go to the sports reps for around the table. Jason, you want to call them out for me? Thank you.
Yeah, not a lot to report on, but just wanted to start by thanking Bill for working with softball and baseball on high school field openings, and we had a couple other meetings right after our last athletic council meeting, and Bill did some great work to make some slight adjustments to help us out, and Mark also worked pretty hard to make all that happen. So Bill and Mark, thank you for that. We've also, another kudos to Bill for working with some high school baseball coaches and softball coaches on but making recommendations on high school return to play protocols for both baseball and softball. We put that committee together, made some recommendations to a committee of DSAs just the other day, and it was just great to have that voice from the coach's perspective. So again, Bill, thank you. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Rob.
All right. Basketball, Steve.
Basketball season ended pretty much last week at the youth level, and of course it's over at the high school level. I'm only aware of actually 3 type of organizations that ran a basketball program this year. One was at the rec level, and by that I mean with referees. One was the county program that's as all the clubs basically having all-star teams play, and the third was over at the St. James. the experience in that was that it went pretty smoothly, all things considered. Basically, we found that enrollment was at about 40% of normal for basketball. And then the health policies that were adopted that I saw was basically we mimicked the Virginia High School League completely. We did have an interesting conversation with the health department. If you had a player on a team that tested positive for COVID, then almost all clubs stopped their team from playing for 10 days to 14. The county health department came in and said would do contact tracing, and they would have a blanket recommendation for all sports. So it didn't matter if it was basketball or not. It was 14 days. And if you played a team that had tested positive, then you had a 14-day. So basically, even the opponent, if you played a team that had one player in basketball test positive after that game, then not only was the team benched for 14 days, but the other team was benched for 14 days. And in a conversation with them, I brought up the fact that, we had instituted banning all the parents from the gyms. We had done social distancing by enforcing that players can't play each half continuously to ensure that one player doesn't go down and affect the whole team. And then we also put on masks. And when brought up, the county health department supervisor admitted that those would be, mitigating precautions, but they said, basically, we only have one script, and that's what we tell everyone. And it's not an actual quarantine order, but it's a recommendation. So I thought that was interesting. I'll just pass that along. My response to them was they probably should look at, I understand they can't operationalize any other recommendation, but certain sports like golf and softball will definitely have less need to, set down a whole team for 14 days because they are social distancing. But I'll just pass along that experience and we'll see where it goes with other sports.
Thank you, Steve. That's also relevant to the discussion that NCS will have later, because we were dealing with a soccer issue. Same issue.
Yeah, I mean, overall, the governor's recommendations and the CDC recommendations regarding sports, and even the Aspen Institutes, which we looked into, all were predicated on no masks, right? So masks have been shown to be very effective. In fact, I just flew back on United Airlines the other day, and it was a full pack flight. So it's kind of strange that we're allowing airplanes to fly full 6 across, full planes with masks, and we all don't have to social distance afterwards. But at the sports level, we do. So it would be nice if the county health department actually started breaking things down by sport. That was my recommendation to them. But I understand they're swamped, so yeah. I'm not sure we're going to be able to see that anytime soon.
Thank you. Jason?
Next, fast pitch softball, Susie.
I echo what Rob said and appreciate the work that we were able to do with Mr. Curran. But having said that, softball got kiboshed. We start in March 1st, and there had been some miscommunication, thinking that we didn't start till March 27th as baseball does. So our user groups were pretty impacted at the last moment, and but appreciate that what we were able to kind of cobble together to help them. But what it did highlight was some of the inequities with the field use starting in March, in particular with some of the other sports and Park Authority fields. And so just kind of giving a little preview that the softball community will be pushing for some reforms that came to light, no pun intended, with what happened with high school fields being closed to our user groups. We had a meeting on Monday. It was great. So everybody understood that we need to now look forward, and what happened happened. But again, it did galvanize the softball community and looking at some of the inequities and things going forward with the use of fields, particularly in March and then at the end of November as well, when other sports are able to continue to play and we aren't given those opportunities. So there you go.
Thank you, Susie. Jason, is somebody sharing their screen?
What's that?
Is somebody sharing their screen? Because I have two screens up.
Yeah, it looks like somebody is.
Oh yeah, that's weird. Yeah, I don't know.
Who's using? Yeah, somebody's messing around.
Guarantee it's not Karen. I would have no idea how to share a screen.
Not a chance it's me, but someone's messing. I see the little arrow. I see it. Somebody fess up. Somebody's messing around in here. Somebody's moving an arrow. Who's moving the arrow?
Next is football, Mark.
Hey, forever sharing the screen. You see the leave button? There's a little X next to the leave button, and click on that, and that'll stop sharing. To the left of it, left. Click on that. Good.
Thank you.
Okay. Enjoying the high school season. It's about halfway through, and watching and learning all the issues with putting on the game and different times and places, and reduced games and spectators allowed in. Kind of learning as much, but it certainly is a pleasure seeing those folks forge through all that. Other than that, that's just about it.
Thanks, Mark.
Next is lacrosse, Marianne.
Yes, there we go. We are about ready to start the lacrosse season, the MVYLL lacrosse season. And one of the things that I kind of find interesting, and it'll be curious to see how this pans out, but we have 25 member clubs across 4 or 5 counties: Loudoun, Fairfax, Alexandria, Prince William. And each one of those clubs has their own COVID policy. And so when we go from one game to another, we're going to be abiding by the home team's COVID policy. So just found that interesting. Some of them require masks while playing. Some of them suggest them, have different policies on spectators and all sorts of things. So we'll be curious to see how this works out. I think spectators with youth, limiting them is a bit difficult and harsh, right? Because these kids aren't driving. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. Aside from that, we're looking forward to, I guess, getting out and playing. And that's all I have.
All right.
Thanks, Marianne.
Slow pitch. Did anyone come? Carl or Christine? All right. Next is soccer. Lula and Trish.
Yes, hi. We're coming off the winter season, but having said that, it's been the most glorious 2 seasons I think administrators have felt with soccer, mainly because the parents have been so upbeat and so happy and grateful that organizations have the guidelines in place and that their kids are out there playing, no matter what sport it is. But we were talking at a meeting and you know, we were talking about how it's just been such a smooth, flawless, and very few complaints. And I think it's because the parents are so grateful that there's guidelines in place and the kids are out there playing. Other than that, we're getting ready for the spring season. There were some effects for field permits, but you know, most everybody just went, it is what it is. We want to get these kids out here playing, so it wasn't, you know, it wasn't too much of an upset. But soccer is used to COVID, because we started back in June, July when the stay-at-home order was lifted. So all the leagues and all the clubs pretty much have their guidelines in place to include the pre-screening and the contact tracing. So no complaints here. How about you, Trish? Other than the fact that every time it gets warmer, each degree goes up. We have more and more walk-ons, but that's about it. Trish, anything that you can you'd like to report?
I echo that. Every degree warmer it gets, there's 10 more squatters on the turf fields. It just keeps going up.
That's it for us.
All right. Volleyball, Chuck.
Hey, folks. I suppose volleyball spring season, next indoor season, I'm definitely very curious to hear what NCS is going to talk about with COVID-19. But most of the programs are go this season, seeing reduced capacity. Program I'm running in McLean, it's about a 50% drop in participants, and that includes spillover from other areas that aren't holding a program. The lack of gyms with the schools pulling back the gyms to do social distancing, use it for furniture storage, all those kind of things are definitely impacting. I think that's most of the groups that I've talked to seem to be working around that. But it's definitely going to be a pretty tight situation for most of the teams. I suppose Rob's on the phone. I'll let Rob, you can jump in. But the one program that was bit most by it was BRYC. So they ended up having to cancel their rec volleyball program. There just weren't enough gyms for them to use. But other than that, we're moving forward, and hopefully lessons learned from other indoor sports in the wintertime on how to manage the COVID-19 situation. Rob, do you want to add anything if you're there?
No, yeah, I think he covered it. That's pretty much it. Other than I guess we are trying to get the boys high school league that we were in the fall going again this spring, and we're looking to get some help from some of the DSAs and administrators there. So we'll be maybe reaching out to you, Bill Curran, for that. So.
And then the other topic I've been talking with you guys about, or I did last time, was trying to play some outdoor games. But I'll take that offline with the county park department, I should say. Again, given that we're all in relatively small elementary school gyms, 2 teams, that still seems like a viable option if it's feasible. And again, the park authority's not has any issues with that happening. That I think would be a great option for a lot of our programs. That's it.
Okay, thank you. All right. So we're going into the county groups, and we'll start with the schools. Bill.
Good evening. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Right off the bat, I gotta thank Rob and Susie because they both were very kind, and the reality is I kind of bungled things up, I would say. So I'm gonna own that, and they kind of helped me fix it. So I appreciate the fact that they were very kind in their comments when they were speaking. The reality is they helped me fix a problem I created and didn't need to create. So we learn, we move on. They were helpful to me, so I'm very appreciative of the fact that we were able to get together and at least fix some things to what we were really trying to accomplish. So that was good partnership between the 3 of us, I think. And Mark Martina was there too. I won't call him a partner. I'll just say he was there. He was on the call.
Wow.
He had to get somebody. He's being nice to everybody else.
Yeah, so helped a lot. He helped a lot. Hey, we did wrap up our winter season. Did well as overall. With basketball, both boys and girls, Centerville boys and Madison girls won state championships. Robinson won wrestling state championships. The boys swim and dive championships. The indoor track was South Lakes High School on the boys' side, and Robinson was runner-up on the girls' side. So it was pretty successful overall winter season, and overall to have a winter season, I'm not sure anybody would have thought we would have been there last October. So it was the fact that we can talk about state championships and having had a season is a pretty major accomplishment, I believe. With that, we started the fall season. We are actually about 2/3 through with football, and about halfway through with everything else moving ahead. So it is working. Having similar results. We're seeing cases here and there, but managing them, the things that are described from the health department, we work very closely with them. And when I say closely, John Reynolds, who's the head of athletic training, probably spends 3 hours a day on the phone with the contacts at the health department, working through contact tracing and making sure we're doing everything right. We are held to that 14 days that was mentioned. While the CDC, and as they explained it to us, the CDC can make recommendations. They do stipulate it's the local health department's determination. So we've had many of those same discussions, and we are still on the 14-day piece. So I appreciate that coming up. And I do appreciate the health department has been helpful to us and worked through a bunch of things. And they are pretty responsive and working hard as well. So I know their work is there and they've been good. We are starting to move forward. Like Rob said, we're looking at getting things ready for spring season, which starts April 12th. We start practice on April 12th. It runs through the end of June. One of the big factors we're starting to talk about now is what do we do when that ends? Because if we end on June, at the very end of June, and if we actually think we're going to start fall season again in August, that's a very quick turnaround for our kids. It's a very quick turnaround for everybody. I think people are anxious to keep going, but we want to make sure we do it right and we engage our students. In the school board work session yesterday, our superintendent was clear that the intent is to open our schools this fall and to open them with 5 days of instruction. So that is obviously the goal. The governor did release some new information around the executive order that for April, he's going to look to open it up specifically for graduations, that we would be able to have more, get a little bit more open to having in-person graduations, which we're committed to. It's something else I do for the county. So we're doing an awful lot of work around that process right now to find a way to make that happen. But ultimately, hoping that come the fall, we're able to keep things moving forward. It's pretty much what I got for now.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Mark Martino, you get your hand up?
Yeah, Bill, just a quick question. Is it an automatic thing if like one kid on a team gets a positive case, is the team automatically shut down for 14 days? I'm just curious about how that's working. That's all.
It's not automatic for the full team. It comes down to the contact tracing. What I can, that it's kind of how the health department kind of presents it that way. But in reality, what they do is that first positive is, obviously, okay, we got to find out how far this goes. How deep does this go into the rest of the team? And we have a process in place that provides the health department internally. Then we provide the health department as detailed information as we can, from how we potted during practice to contact during games to all those sorts of things. And when I say immediate, we turn that around within hours and we're able to get it in the health department's hands. They've actually done a great job that within 24 hours, they've been able to pretty much say this group is who we're concerned about. This group is fine based on the information they've collected. So we've had cases where it's been, well, the individual, based on the days and their symptoms and when they tested positive, they're out for 14 days, but the rest of the team can return tomorrow. We've had cases where there's so much that it takes them 2 or 3 days to get to a point where they define who that is. It's been, I would say, rare that we've had an entire team that quarantined for 14 days. When I say rare, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, and I can't put my finger on any one individual time when we've had an entire team quarantine for 14 days.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions for Bill, comments? We'll move on to the Park Authority. Kurt and Mike?
Nothing from the Park Authority tonight, except for we've been trying to take advantage of the good weather for the last week and a half and racing around trying to get all the fields ready to go for the spring. So other than that, that's all I have to report out tonight.
Thank you, Kurt. Mike, got anything to add?
Yeah, the one thing that I'll throw out there, so that I think I may have made this update last month, I'm not sure, but the baseball community, I want to make sure they continue to know that we are on track with the baseball complex, getting that in terms of getting it built and all that kind of stuff. We're looking at, from what I understand, fingers crossed, 2 years from right now, right around 2 years from right now, we should be cutting the ribbon on a fully usable baseball complex. So just a heads up on that.
That'd be a nice opening day. Moving on, if there are any questions for the Park Authority, I'm not seeing any, so we'll go to NCS.
Okay, I'll give a quick update. Well, it might not be quick because we want to talk a little bit about, and I'll ask Sarah to join me on this, about this, the whole COVID, the reporting, and it's been, for the most part in the winter season, gym season, I mean, everyone's done a phenomenal job, really. You know, very minimal cases, and your processes, even though they're all over the board, and I think that we could probably merge, connect some of you guys together, because some of you are doing unbelievable job on collecting and shutting down and the whole process of the CDC guidelines and everything. And some are doing okay, but could be better. But it is all over the board. But the problem that we've been running into recently, and I think it's an angst for a lot of you guys, and that is the contact tracing piece. And so we are working with the Park Authority. We've worked with one group in particular to try to resolve this or make the groups. But the bottom line, everyone, is that we have a responsibility, you guys do as youth groups, to comply with the CDC guidelines, which means that you have to, when they call you for contact numbers and such, you need to cooperate. Otherwise, we all could get shut down again. And so that's the issue that we're having, and that's the anxiety that most youth groups are having, or groups, adults too, are having right now, is giving up information to the Park Authority, which is bound by HIPAA not to be distributed, but they have a job to do, and that's to protect the health and safety of our community, and we have to cooperate. You're using county facilities, so we have to cooperate with that. And so there's a lot of stuff going on. So we're gonna have some town meetings and stuff like that to try to get the health department to engage with you guys, to answer and alleviate some of the concerns that are out there. And I know there are a lot. I mean, Chuck, you seem like you're like one of the ones that, like, oh my gosh, what do I, as far as the COVID reporting and all of that. So that's been happening, and I know, so we are going to do some educational pieces. I know the health department is going to send out some educational pieces also, but I know there's a lot of concerns out there. So it's not the process, it's not the reporting and all of that, and how you guys distribute the information, but it is the contact tracing piece and the cooperation with the health department that we are having some issues with, and some organizations are very reluctant to give up that information, and we need to break down that barrier. Sarah, Keisha, did I miss anything? I'm sure I did, so help me out.
No, Karen, that was great, except for you automatically said Park Authority, but I think you meant Health Department. So.
Health Department, my bad. Sorry, Health Department.
Okay. That's okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. You gave the Park Authority a whole nother job, but that's okay. Just kidding. No, thank you, Karen. That's a great summary. Please look out for some invitations for all of your groups to come to, as Karen mentioned, some information sessions hosted by us in the Health Department, so that we can give additional information from that which is on your permit and that which is on, if you're an inside user, that agreement that you've signed. We'll have two different information sessions, so we're going to figure out the dates of those and get that out to you all. It would be to talk about the questions that you have, do an overview, really think about and dig into what sport each individual sport is going through, and a time with the health department to ask your own questions. What we might do, because we realize that this could be pretty big, is we might also have you all submit your questions early, but we'll give you all that information very soon. And I just wanted to underscore what Bill said and what Mark's question had garnered, which is, it is up to the health department about who they're asking to stop playing, and it's after a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that they have about doing that investigation. So just know that they're the ones that have the authority to do that, and we need to support them while at the same time asking questions that you might have and getting good answers. So more to come, but we know you all are doing a great job. We could just tweak around the edges, and truly we don't know the extent or breadth of what's happening with how many people are having a challenge with this issue. Most of you are cooperating and absolutely doing a great job. So we have a couple groups, and we're going to hopefully help with them individually, and then more information broadly for you all in coming soon.
Thank you, Sarah. Sorry I didn't make part 2 of the meeting today. I'll ask the kind of the general question, because I think I got from others responses today. The health department, when they're doing contact tracing, isn't coming in and saying, we're shutting you down, give us the list. They're saying, give us the list. And then after we do some inquiries, we'll let you know whether we need to shut a person or multiple people down or the whole team. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. That's a fair statement. And I think that it is, they're really hesitant to say that they're not going to shut a group down, but they can't do it without the information to be able to glean from the group, from you all submitting the roster. So it was a little chicken and the egg discussion, and we can definitely fill you in on how it went today.
Thank you. Rob's got his hand up. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I would just add that, for the user groups or for the sports organizers here, if your user groups don't already know this, which I'm sure they do. I mean, I probably talk to the health department once or twice a week all summer, fall, and now spring. Anytime there's some permutation of an exposure or a case or a parent or a grandparent or whomever, they always, as Bill said, they respond same day every single time, and they've been awesome. So if you have questions, if you call them, they will help you that day on pretty much anything. So just adding that.
Thank you. It's good to hear. Bill? Go ahead, Bill.
Sorry, couldn't get my mic. And I think I said it before. The number one thing we've learned in the school system as we've dealt with cases through the winter and now the fall, the more information and the more organized that information is, the faster they turn it around. The more we help them, they're able to turn things around and be done with the investigation and the contact tracing. So we've got it generally down to a science now, where we're able to get these things turned around really, really fast and get the kids who aren't impacted back out, get the kids who are in a safe place, and keep it moving. So, happy to talk more as we get deeper into this later on in further meetings. But just, I'm telling you, the quicker you can say this is what we did in practice and this is who was there, or this is what we did in the game, the faster they can help you get things going right back to where it was.
Thanks, Bill. And I just want to echo the comments I've heard from several of folks that who would have thought a year ago today that all of the sports organizations would have been able to come up with all of these methods for making sure that they could get the kids out playing safely and then be able to report that to the health department and operate as efficiently as they have operated. I think it's a real tribute to all the sports organizations out there, how far we've come in such a short period of time. I guess it also comes from desperation. Just get the kids out of the house too. But thanks for that, Bill. Where am I on my agenda? Yeah, go ahead.
Steve, I just got a couple quick little items for NCS. One, just the spring fields are out right now, but just know that make sure you go back to your organizations, your groups, and let them know that April 12th is when, Bill, make sure I have the right date. April 12th is when spring sports start. So even though we're in our spring season right now with fields, we're dealing with high school fall sports. And then when we hit the 12th, we'll have more sports that'll come aboard. And that will change some of the times that the schools will need their fields and times. So it's really important that our user groups look at their permits and know that April 12th, and we have been hammering it with them, there could be changes just because of the nature of the seasons for the high school right now. So please make sure you get that back to your groups. Also, spring gyms are are getting ready to get started, or actually they're started already. And I think policies are the same. We haven't changed our policies in terms of who can be in, masks are being worn, and all of that. And then hopefully for Lula and Trish and others, we're going to be starting our police and school securities. We'll be starting that first week in April. So we'll be getting them out for some help, hopefully with the walk-ons and stuff like that. So that's kind of all I want. I just wanted to reiterate that April 12th is going to be we just know we're going to have issues because people are going to go out. I know. So I just want to make sure people are aware. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Any questions for NCS? I'm not seeing any, so I'm going to roll into the new business and old business, looking for hands to go up.
Move to adjourn.
There you go. Is there a second on that? And I don't care if there's any objection. Thanks, everybody, for your continued work on behalf of all of the athletes in the county. And have a pleasant evening.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you.